Alright everyone, welcome back. This afternoon I've been working on the propane tank wood stove project. I started this probably about 8 months ago and just kind of lost interest in it, and I don't know, this winter it's been pretty snowy out, haven't been able to do much, so now I got back around to finishing it. I really didn't need much to finish up what I had already started. I didn't really make a video on the project when I started it, but I'll go over it and show you guys what I did. This afternoon, all I've been doing, I just finished up the latch on the door, and I'm going to be putting the stove polish on everything that's been wire wheeled, and I think I'm just going to paint the base. The base is just some flat bar that I had that I wasn't doing anything with, and it just kind of worked out well. I was able to center the tank on top of that frame pretty well. Alright, let's take a closer look at it here. So this is just a standard 20-pound propane tank like you'd use for a gas grill. I took the valve out of the end. This actually had the old style valve on it, so I really didn't want to keep it, and I have enough of these that I figured I might as well just do something cool with one of them. So I made the door frame out of the same flat bar that the base is made out of. Just squared it up, laid it out, cut it out with an angle grinder, and welded that in place. It's not exactly perfect, but it's close enough for what I'm going to be using it for. And I actually don't know what I'm going to be using it for yet. I might go into my deer shack, or I don't know, maybe it'll go into a yard barn or a camper or something like that. I have no idea, but at least it'll be done, and I'll have it here for whenever I decide to use it. I didn't know what I wanted to use for the door, so again, that's just 3 pieces of this flat bar welded together. I got this steel hinge from Menards and just welded that onto the door frame and the door itself, and it actually works really smooth. Works real nice. There we go. The vent I just made out of a piece of round stock. I think it's 3 inches in diameter. Drilled some holes around the outside that match up with the holes in the door. There we go. Welded a nut to the back side of the door that matches up with the bolt that's welded into the piece of round stock. Yeah, this is really hard to do one-handed. There we go. And then that just bolt threads into the nut, and you can adjust for how much airflow you want going into the stove. I didn't put any kind of a flat top on it to put a pot or pan or whatever on there. I might do that yet. I don't know. Probably not. I don't think I'll ever have any reason to cook on this, but the option, I guess, would be nice. So maybe I will decide to put something on there yet. Let me adjust the camera here. The latching mechanism I just made out of some old wrenches that I had in my scrap box. This one I just cut the box end off of and welded it to the door frame and fit them so that they're actually pretty snug. It actually kind of takes me 2 hands to get it open, but the spring tension from the wrench itself actually holds the door shut, and that works really nice. I'm glad that that's as snug as it is. I was going to build this with an ash pan, but in the end decided against it. Just didn't really feel that I needed one. Not like I'm going to be burning it for days on end. It'll probably just be a couple hours at a time, so I should be able to clean it out after each use. The grate that's in there is just part of a grill insert from Menards. And then I did put the rope gasket around the outside of the door to help it seal a little bit better. That's been setting up for the past 2 hours and is just about finished curing. And that came from Menards as well. It's just this Red Devil replacement gasket that they sell there, usually during the winter season, to replace the gasket around the wood stove doors. And that'll be going, the rest of this is actually going to be going around the door on the wood stove at the cabin. I'll be doing a video on that coming up too, just a tour of the cabin. The next time that I get out there, anyway. The outlet pipe, or chimney, whatever you want to call it, is 3-inch exhaust tubing that you can pick up at pretty much any auto parts store. This came from AutoZone, I think, or maybe O'Reilly's, I don't remember. But I just have one, I think it's a 2.5 or 3 foot section welded in there right now. There's no damper or anything in the stove. I don't know if I'll put one in there or not. Really no reason to, for what I'm going to be using it for. But I guess it would be nice to have one in there, so maybe I'll do that yet too. And then I do have more sections of pipe that I will be adding on there, obviously, when I install it, wherever I install it. I may actually use this to make a cold smoker. I don't know yet. Really undecided, but just nice to finish what I started and have it done, have it sitting around when I want to use it. So, next I'm going to go ahead and put the stove black on the outside of it, just to kind of give it a finished look. And then I think I will probably start a fire in it to cure that. And then I think it'll be finished for now. Okay, this stuff is just kind of like a liquid paste. I like to wear gloves when I put it on. Anything that's black and messy like this, it's always easier to avoid getting it on your hands early in the process. Easier to clean up afterwards. Just use a t-shirt, sock, whatever, old rag to wipe it on. A little kind of goes a long way, but you'll see that as I start to put it on here. Put on as many coats of this stuff as you want. I know some people put it on their stoves yearly. It does kind of bake off eventually, but it seems to last pretty long. On the wood stove at the cabin, I've had it on there. On that stove, maybe I'll put some pictures in of what that stove looked like when I got it. And when I got it, it was pretty rusty. I just wire wheeled it and then put this Red Devil stove polish on, and I'm very happy with the way that turned out, and it's been holding up very well so far this season. It's just under a year old. It still looks like it did when I put it on, so can't complain about that. Obviously, when you burn this, secure the polish, it's best to do it outside, or at least with the windows open if you can't remove the stove from the house. In my case, obviously I'll be able to burn this outside. This does send some fumes into the air when you burn it off. I know a lot of people that do it on the stoves that are already installed in their house. They'll do it in early fall or even in summer just so they can open all the windows and let the fumes escape. This is turning out pretty nice, I think. It's actually starting to look like a legitimate wood stove. I know some people choose to use high temp paint over this stuff, and I don't know, I think as far as wood stoves go, this actually works better than high temp paint does. It goes on easier, smoother, and it looks better. I think it looks better. And paint just seems to flake off all the time. This doesn't really flake off, it just sort of dulls over time. Another big reason I wanted to do this now is since I don't have a place for this stove picked out yet. I didn't really want it to sit down here and rust. This basement does get pretty damp sometimes, so well, you never know if it would start to rust over time. At least this way it's got a little bit of a coating on it. It's all sealed up and got a little bit of something protecting it anyway. It seems that the rougher the surface is, the better that this polish adheres. It's not really doing much to the hinge here. It's not really sticking to that at all. I'm gonna wipe that off real good. I don't want to look half-assed or anything, although the whole thing kind of looks half-assed, but oh well. Wipe that off real good. I like the wrench idea for the latch there. That, I mean, it looks alright, and it actually works better than anything else I could think of aside from an actual latch on the inside of the door. This worked well. So if you're gonna make one of these yourself, I would definitely recommend using some old wrenches for the door latch. This stuff is not at all sticking to the chimney, which I kind of anticipated, but I thought I'd give it a try anyway. So that really works best on rougher surfaces. I think it has just a little more to adhere to that way. It does work great on cast iron, as you can tell in those pictures of the stove that's in the cabin now. All right, there it is, all finished. I decided to paint the legs and just give them one good coat of paint. I'm sure from the heat eventually that'll probably burn off, but who knows. I think that stove polish turned out pretty well on top of there. The camera makes it look a little bit lighter than it is. But again, really not all that concerned about looks, as long as it stops it from rusting. That's what I'm after. But this is now complete and ready to be used. I don't have any idea what I'm going to use it in though. So if I figure anything out, I'll film it when it gets installed. But for then, it'll just be sitting down here in the basement. Any questions? Feel free to post them in the comments. And thank you for watching.